My name is Larry, and I want to talk to you about the most effective alternative cancer therapy that I know of. All right, this is Larry again with the Cancer Chronicles, and I have Patti on the line, and she's going to tell us her cancer story. All right, let's hear your story.
Well, I was diagnosed with anal cancer, squamous cell, the same cancer that Farrah Fawcett had. That makes it sound prettier. And they told me that they were going to remove a tumor, that it was very, very small, and it would all be okay. When I woke up from the surgery, they said it had wrapped around the anus. And so, therefore, I had to take chemo and radiation and all of that. This was the first cancer I had. Well, I was over-radiated the first time. So 8 years later, I got the cancer from the radiation, which was a carcinoma. And when I got that, they told me right away that I was going to have an entire bowel resection. So I would have 2 bags on my waist or stomach or what have you, and they would be removing my entire anus, actually. So you would, because I was over-radiated, I was reading about it, and due to that, they wouldn't have been able to stitch me up properly, or it would be very questionable. So I knew that I would have issues for the rest of my life, however long that would be, sitting down or doing anything that involved moving my legs. And I like to exercise and speed walk, and I'm very active, and it was devastating for me. I'm also a thin, well-dressed woman. So, that didn't sit well with me either. I was a fashion designer all my life. And so I started looking into other avenues. And my friend, Don Engel, who had a lymphoma, I knew him when he was doing that process, and I learned from him way back when how he did his and how easy it actually was, because Don's not a precision guy when it comes to food and all of that. I remember him eating candy bars and all kinds of crap. He was a dear friend. He was also the attorney for my company, and so I knew him quite well. And when he cured himself, I thought, wow, this is just really fabulous that he didn't rely on the fear that the hospitals wanted to put him under. So he went and he took it into his own hands, and he kept hearing cesium, and he started taking cesium along with a few other small things. And he changed his diet slightly, no more candy bars, and he ate blueberries instead. So I called him. And, he, basically refreshed my memory on everything that he did. And so I purchased my first round of cesium and potassium. And I started studying, even though I was healthy anyways, I started studying foods that can keep you alkaline, and foods that are basically healthy, that cancers don't like. And changed my life, basically. So, meanwhile, the hospital that I was going to, the cancer center here in Detroit, was preparing me for all the surgery and all of that. And I started immediately upon knowing what I had on the cesium and potassium and changing my diet. And along with that, I added I relied on my spirituality to keep me sane through all of this and to take away the fear. I had mantras up all over the place. One of them is still on my computer right now, and it says, I declare victory. In other words, I wasn't going to let the fear of the devil put weight on me. I was going to rely on the Lord, and that's what I did. And I turned it over to him. I said, guide me. Tell me what you want me to do. And I said, whatever you choose for me may not be what I choose, but if you choose it for me, then it's got to be the right thing. And so I went in for another round of biopsies that the doctors wanted to do prior to doing a resection. And this was 6 weeks after I was diagnosed. So we were going on up to 2 months now with me on cesium. And so I had a doctor's appointment downtown with this cancer center. And I ended up in a building adjacent because there's multiple hospitals there, and they share surgery rooms, they share whatever. And I was put in with a fabulous doctor named Dr. Weaver. But I didn't know it was going to be Dr. Weaver. I didn't know why I was in another building or why I was going over there. And I was sitting in the waiting room, and I brought my dearest two friends who would hold me to the fire of my spirituality, my trust, my belief, no fear, all of that. And I was sitting on the doctor's table, and he walks in, and he was a very angelic-looking man with kind of silver hair, soft-spoken, and he told me to tell him my story. Well, I thought that was strange. I would have thought he already would have known my story, so I proceeded to tell my story just like I told you. And he started to smile, and I looked at him and I said, "What's so funny?" And he said, "No, it's not funny." He says, "But I'm just curious. Did anybody ever tell you that your biopsies were negative?" That's exactly what happened.
Wow.
So the cancer center didn't want to tell me my biopsies were negative because they knew I was taking cesium.
Uh-huh.
Now, the normal person can't go in and tell them they're taking something else because they will not treat you. They won't draw your blood. They won't do your testing. They won't do anything. They don't want any part of it. So, but me, I could tell them because my husband sat on the board of this cancer center for many, many, many years. So here I am sitting in an office with a strange doctor, and he is telling me, and he showed me why my biopsies were negative. He showed me the screens. And the interesting part is the difference in what the tumor looked like. Before, my tumor looked like almost like a little shallow bubble, alive, like I could have popped it possibly. It was kind of growing upwards, and it had life. And then when he showed me this one, it looked as if the desert had dried up, and it looked as though you had a piece of bubble gum in your hand, 2 hands, and you were pulling it, and then all of a sudden the holes developed in the bubble gum as you're pulling the bubble gum apart. So I looked at it and I thought, wow, that's really cool. I don't remember, mine looking like that. So I said to him, when he told me that my biopsies were negative, I immediately looked up and I looked over at his face and I said, "Are you a spiritual man?" And he said, "I am, very much so." And I said, "Okay, now I know how I got here. This was the path. You were going to be the one that was telling me the truth, that my biopsies actually came back negative. They didn't even tell me for 3 weeks. They let me, as a patient, suffer that fear, that pain, right?" And so I told him, I said, "I've been taking cesium every day, and I've changed my diet drastically. I engage in my mantras, I refuse to let fear in. I hung up on fear every time I could. I would pretend like I was slamming the phone down or pushing the delete button on my computer. I actually enacted it. And I told the Lord, I said, when I'm asking you to guide me where you want me to go and what you want me to do, I mean that with all my heart. And whatever the outcome, I will accept knowing that you're in the midst of it, and it's got to be perfect for me." And that's the attitude I took. And this man, doctor, gave me a hug, and he calls me up and gives me blessings. He said, "Bless you." Every time. Now, doctors typically don't do that. He had me come back in multiple times for checkups and various things to see what was going on and all of that. And every single time, he loves seeing me and I love seeing him, and there's this bond there. And I think he finds it very interesting that how this whole thing took place. So to this day, I mean, it's been a while now. Let's see. I can't even remember what year. I guess I should have looked that up before I started speaking to you guys. But it's been, I'm going to say, at least 6 years. And I go in for checkups every year with Dr. Weaver. He is my guy. Even though he's semi-retired, he always takes the time to see me. And I get put under for any examination. And he goes up, he does them himself. Now, this guy's way up there in stature, and he still will do my colonoscopy. And then a gynecologist sits there at the same time because, remember, I was over-radiated, so I have issues down there from that. And they do that, and they do it as a team every time. And they wait until I wake up, and then they tell me how beautiful the skin looks inside.
Wow.
From everything I've been doing. So it's really a gift.
Yes, it is. It definitely is.
So I share my story with other people, and I don't know how they find out, but I get calls all the time, people wanting help. And it's a little risky because a lot of people don't know how to help themselves. They want to stay in the fear mode.
Or they.
And so I have to teach them that too.
Yeah, a lot of people. A lot of people want you to do it for them. They don't want to put the effort themselves.
That's true. So I've started a library of what I do with food. I research almost 4 hours every day. I've slowed down a little bit because I've moved and I'm in the middle of a move. But I research all kinds of things, and you'd be surprised at what you can cure before you even get it by just taking a few things like turmeric and curcumin and a little golf ball size of ginger every day in a smoothie with various other things, plus cesium, of course, and potassium and all of that. I mean, there's just so many things you can do. So I type it out, and when I get calls, I blast them out with gobs of material, and then I meet with them. They print it out, and then I meet with them and go through the material and say, this is what you need to do. Some people don't do it. Some people come so late, and they're already so sick that they die a week later. Some people, I mean, it just varies. And I suggest to anybody out there to be proactive in your life. I don't mean fear cancer. I mean stand tall and take victory before it even happens.
Right.
And stop smoking and stop drinking soft drinks and all the simple stuff, and then start doing XYZ. That's what I recommend to people, and I stand by them. If I have to hold their hand while they go in for a biopsy or while they go in for a test or something because some want to combine the treatment, I go in with them. I give back because the Lord gave to me.
Well, that's wonderful.
So, and you're part of that, so...
Well, I'm thankful that you got yourself well. You know, that's what I'm here for, is to help people help themselves, and it's a blessing to me when they actually gain their health back the way it was meant to be. So I'm thankful that you healed yourself. You know, I'm really thankful.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. That means a lot. You know, because there's so many people out there where they go the route of taking down their body, taking it down with chemo and radiation, just like I did the first time.
Yep.
Okay? And I could have cured that squamous cell in various ways. But there's a cream out there called BEC Curaderm, called Curaderm BEC5. That kills basal cell and squamous cell and all of that. And so you can combine that with taking cesium and nail it from all angles. And there's just so many ways to do it. You don't have to have cancer cut out of your body necessarily. I'm not telling people what to do. I'm just telling you what I did. And,
exactly.
And all of it was a gift, and I'm turning around to be a gift for as many people that want the gift and want me to share it. I do. So, and I will never stop sharing it.
There you go. Well, I appreciate you, Patti. I really do. And I want to thank you for sharing this with everybody, and I hope it helps.
Thank you. I appreciate being able to share it. Thank you so much.
All right, dear. You take care. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.